2026. But you already know that. You saw the title of the screen. It's going to be about the Odyssey. It's from someone who loves Christopher Nolan, who watches all the movies. Here's a little link right there. I'm sure I'm going to put it. I've got a past video describing all of the quantum endings of Christopher Nolan films. How a lot of the films can be interpreted in two different philosophical ways where maybe there's a happy ending, maybe there's a sad ending. This happens in a lot of the movies. A big one would be Inception. I feel that it happens in the end of the Batman trilogy, Dark Knight, and also possibly Tenet, maybe Memento. We're just naming the movies, but there's a chance that this Odyssey movie also plays around with the endings in the same way that the Batman trilogy did, where a lot of people feels that, you know, we get to see Alfred's imagining of how Bruce is going to end up happy someday with Catwoman and Hathaway. And then at the end, we see a dreamlike scenario where he gets to see his little wish fulfillment. And Bruce is happy having coffee at that old diner that he always dreamed about with Anne Hathaway. Pretty happy ending. A lot better than a dark version where Batman dies in the bomb. He explodes. The autopilot wasn't fixed. And Batman had to die in the bomb. That's a possible way to interpret that movie as well. It doesn't seem like as much fun, but I feel like Christopher Nolan and possibly his brother Jonathan Nolan, who rewrites a lot of his scripts, is making these quantum endings that can be interpreted. Schrodinger's cat is both dead and alive. And if you want the cat to be alive, that's fine. If you want the cat to be dead, you're a sick little guy, aren't you? But it can be both, right? Until you observe it, the cat is living in a quantum state of both existing and not existing. All right, so now that we've touched upon quantum physics, that's a little easy, right? Let's talk about the Odyssey, right? We've all seen it by now, and if you haven't seen it, that's fine. There's gonna be some spoilers to a 3,000-year-old little story. You know the story of the Odyssey. Odysseus, what a hero. Odysseus, he's a great guy. But I'm feeling that, hey, how was your day? Thanks for checking in there. We're getting all the viewers in there. We're talking about the Odyssey right now. Maybe we'll re-upload this later, but just watched the Odyssey last night. So my day's been pretty good thinking about Odyssey ever since. Yeah, there's a lot of action with this movie Odyssey, right? So they cast Matt Damon because America loves Matt Damon. We love Matt Damon. He can't do any wrong. But we saw in Interstellar the little trick that was played where the audience goes along with Matt Damon's character when we're introduced to Hugh Mann, M-A-N-N, and we think Matt Damon's character is good. Then it kind of turns out he's trying to fight Coop and steal the ship. So he potentially could be the bad guy. But once again, there's a little quantum possibility that Coop has already lost his mind. He's gone crazy from seeing he misses his family. He's going to jeopardize the mission. He just wants to get back. And Hugh Mann, Matt Damon character, he might have realized this, and he's trying to save the mission to, keep. But how does this relate to the Odyssey? They kind of are doing the same thing with Matt Damon. We assume he's a hero, we love him, but he might be a bad guy. He might actually be a bad guy. He's doing the war crimes. He's feeling guilty about the war crimes he perpetrated at the Trojan War. And when he first introduced foul play and war crimes against Zeus's law, right? They're saying Zeus's law is the possibility that, Zeus might come to your house in the form of a beggar, and so you should always be hospitable and polite. And Zeus also represents, he's king of the god. He's the main god. There's lots of gods, right? But he's the god with the capital G. So it's kind of God's law, whereas Matt Damon has now ushered in this new time, this new era, the end of the Bronze Age, which is more of a Luciferian, more of a devilish, more of a satanic, do as thou wilt. It's the key tenet in Luciferianism. And so there's evil being brought into the land that supposedly wasn't there before. But let's talk about some of the secrets. All right, the end of Odyssey. Sorry for any spoilers. We get the ambiguous ending. We get, the whole time Anne Hathaway's character Penelope has wanted Matt Damon to quit the war, Odysseus to, and they can just retire together. It's very similar to the Catwoman Batman dynamic, right? She wants this magical ending where they leave the wars and the responsibilities behind, and they go off together to the west, where they erase the escaping sun. And in the end of the movie, we kind of get that. As Odysseus lies with arrows in his back, being stabbed multiple times, lying, and she goes, "Are you gonna die?" And he goes, "No, I'm not gonna die. We're gonna go to exile." And then it cuts to this dreamlike little ending epilogue where it looks like they're all fine. He survived. He's not dead from all of those grievous injuries. He made it. And he's living with his lovely wife, and they made it. I don't think that's what's really happening. I think Matt Damon, Odysseus, he dies. He dies at the end of the Odyssey. The injuries are grievous. He's been stabbed. He's he doesn't make it. The ending part is a dream sequence, similar to how Batman may have ended, and the end of Inception as well, right? That it could be the totem stops spinning, or maybe it's continues spinning forever, and you can interpret it either way, that it's a happy ending. And in that movie Cobb, Leonardo DiCaprio, he either gets to be with his family, he wakes up out of the dream, or if you're more of a pessimist, he's stuck in the dream state forever. But I think that's how that's the first spoiler. I haven't seen this really touched on anywhere else in any of these Odyssey reviews, but in my professional Nolan opinion, I think a lot of Nolan heads will see Matt Damon, he's dead. He dies at the end. It's sad. It's pathetic. All right, now let's touch on some of the other quantum possibilities. Like The Prestige has the ideas of the twins and people lying and not being who they say they are. I personally think that David Bowie was not actually the real Tesla in those movies, and that Tesla actually is a fraud, and the machine doesn't work. And we're getting lies about whether the machine works because he's trying to, the two rivals the magicians are trying to trick each other, even to the very, very end. And maybe wax duplicates are used, or maybe Gerald Root, the actor who can look like Hugh Jackman's identical, maybe he's also in play. A little bit of a diversion, but of course that movie, The Prestige, starts with you get to see the leg, Angiers, Hugh Jackman busts his leg, and then the clone or whatever we see in the box, he tries to escape, and he's using that same leg that is injured, so it's clearly not a real clone because the injury would have been the same. So that's why I think it's Gerald Root, the actor. All right, in this we get a little dichotomy, a little trickery going on too, and this comes into play with Robert Pattinson's Antinous and Elliot Page's Sinon, as they do a random draft lottery to see who gets to go to war and who gets to stay home. Like, is it going to be the rich kid, Antinous, or did he cheat the draft system and switch the totems, and now he's going to make the son of the shepherd go? Who we see as the son of the shepherd, we never see the shepherd. I'm thinking that there's a chance Sinon is actually Odysseus' son, Odysseus' real son. This might be the real Telemachus, and the beautiful Tom Holland Telemachus might not actually be Odysseus' son. And of course, there is a precedence for that in not the Odyssey, but not the Iliad. Is it the Aeneid? Where we do see that Calypso and Odysseus have kids. There's other kids. Odysseus got some other kids. So it's all right. I'm losing you. That's fine. Here goes. Antinous is the bad boy, right? If Odysseus had been worried about Antinous, back at home, he could have taken him with him. But as we've already seen, the measure of a sacrifice is equal to like how much it means to you. And that's how much you'll get out of the sacrifice. So he's bringing Sinon, the good boy, and he plans on sacrificing him. Basically, this movie's all about Odysseus ritually sacrificing his crew, just everyone along the way. And so that's why I think that Sinon might actually be his son. He's literally going to go sacrifice his son for the god's favor. And if you don't believe it's his son, that's fine too. It's just a beloved. It means more for him to sacrifice this, the good kid, the good son, than for him to sacrifice Antinous, the bad son. That's why he takes Sinon with him, and that's why he doesn't tell Sinon that they're in the Trojan horse, and he's right there as he's literally sacrificed, as the Sinon's body is hit with the arrows, and then later on in the underworld scene, which could be literally, I mean, what's really going on here is that the gods aren't existing in this version of Nolan's The Odyssey. Other version, the Armand Asante version, we get to literally see the gods. It's great. The movie Troy did a similar thing. We don't literally see like the gods' intervention. It's more of like a realistic world. That's what's happening in the Odyssey. Even when we think we're seeing Athena, of course that turns out to be Zendaya, and then we see that this is a random girl that dies at Troy, gets beheaded, and is haunting him. It's just in his head. I think that that the Zendaya casting is intentional, and that this random, I think this is actually Agamemnon's daughter that is meant to be sacrificed early on, the daughter of Agamemnon and Helen slash Clytemnestra, the Lupita Nyong'o casting that's so controversial. Here's another double dichotomy, twin maybe not being who they say they are. We don't ever see the twins, Clytemnestra and Helen, who have never been depicted before as identical twins. We don't see them together. They're not identical twins. Their story is something about Zeus presenting himself to their mother and two separate eggs, one with Clytemnestra and another homie, and then another egg that has, Helen of Troy, who's more divine, whereas Clytemnestra is supposed to be a little more mortal. And so in the movie, we're supposed to assume that it's dual casting, and both these characters exist. I'm positing a theory now that we're probably going to hear more about later. I haven't seen it in the internet, but I don't think this is two different people. I think Helen and Clytemnestra are the same. It's Lupita Nyong'o. It's literally her that attacks Agamemnon because she's pissed about how he sacrificed the daughter. That looks very much like the young Zendaya when we see the young daughter, which could just be like, a misdirect, but nothing's by accident in these movies. So that's baby Zendaya, baby. And we don't literally see him throw the baby in the ocean, so I think he backs off ultimately, and he doesn't actually. And so that could be part of the reason that his wife's mad. We're told that she's pissed about him sacrificing the kid. She could be pissed because she knows that he didn't sacrifice the kid, and now all of their, they're not going to be favored by the gods, and it's all going to be a big hassle. Just another idea there. And we don't see who claws her face. We're maybe meant to assume that as she kills Agamemnon and stabs him, we get like a quick little cut of that maybe Agamemnon grabs her with his dying and scratches it. But more likely, it's the Punisher, her husband. What's his name? His ass, John Bernthal. It seems like it's kind of the only joke in the movie where he goes, look at her face. Did this launch 1,000 ships? Now it looks like 500 ships. It's another half joke. That's why I think there's something going on with the twins not being who they say they are. And there's a little bit of misdirect going on there. A la The Prestige, a little bit like that. So that's another possibility, or you can enjoy the movie exactly as it presents itself, and it's literally two different girls. But there's definitely something going on with the relationship with Helen and her husband, not Paris, the cuck guy, who also he might not be who he's saying he is. He keeps talking about his brother Orestes. There's a chance that he is literally Orestes, and we don't see the actual death of Agamemnon, his brother. But I think there's a theme of people not being who they say they are, much like a lot of Christopher Nolan's movies, that are just there as maybe an Easter egg, you can consider it. So I think Sinon, who's kind of not originally in the Odyssey from a separate retelling later on. But I thought the casting was interesting. I thought it worked out good. Elliot Page with the Batman voice, all pissed off in the underworld at him. But I also don't think that they're literally in the underworld. We see something with Circe doing some bloodletting magic. The sacrifice. He sacrifices two sheeps from Circe's cabin, who we know Circe, of course, has turned other men into animals, so it's another sacrifice. That's what's coming into play. They're sacrificing two sheep, two real people. And that blood magic opens up at least a surreal, it's either literally the underworld if you're going about it as all these things, or a metaphorical underworld. It could be a lot of in Odysseus's, guilt-rattled brain that he's seeing a lot of guilt-riddled brain, guilt-addled brain that he's seeing all these, wild things. It's another the theme of narrative reliability, right? Can we really trust what's going on with the narrator? Because it's again like Inception, we're getting a layer and a layer. He's with Calypso to start the movie out, and he's forgotten who he is. He's been eating the lotus. Different from the Odyssey, classically, where the lotus eaters are their own island, and his shipmates have all eaten all the lotus. He kind of accuses Calypso. He's like, "What have you done with them?" We don't literally see what happens to the rest of his crew. We see the ship break off in two. Oh, well, there's another quantum possibility in his half. We're told that they all die. We don't literally see them drown. And also, if Poseidon exists, what does that really? That could be, the gods. Gods are a little bit absent from this version of the Odyssey. That's why we don't see Achilles, right? Achilles is supposed to present himself in that underworld scene as well, where he goes, "I shouldn't have chased glory and tried to be a war hero. There's other things more important." And then I think there's a chance that Penelope might have lost her mind too. I think Penelope's pissed because she might be pissed that Odysseus has taken her real son Sinon off to be sacrificed, and she doesn't forgive him. Now that is a little extra reading into it that isn't. I'm gonna have to think more about this idea that Telemachus, as of course in the classic Odyssey, that's his son. I think they deliberately casted, there's some switcheroos going on. The old switcheroo, the old Nolan switcheroo. You gotta love them. Any other themes of duplicity and doubles like we get in the Prestige and even Tenet? And how about just the theme of sacrifice again? About how it's kind of a devilish little meaning where you gotta sacrifice if you want to have power, if you want to have your things come true, that blood sacrifices are magic and it does work. But also in a lot of these Nolan movies, magic is always like a trick, or there's something else going on. We see at the beginning the John Leguizamo character, is it Eumaeus, the pig shepherd, the swineherd as they call him. We don't see Odysseus' dad. This is kind of like a dad figure at any. We don't see Laertes anywhere, but there's a chance that this could be. There's more going on there. We see him casually. Is he sacrificing these puppies that they found? We kind of think it's like a Spartan thing where he's looking at the puppies and they're like not strong enough, so he's just killing them randomly at an earlier scene, and then of course there's something called a or save the cat moment in cinema, where we know a hero's good because he'll save a cat, is the classic expression. And in this movie, it's Matt Damon literally saving the dog. He saves Argus, a cute little dog. But this could also be, this was the intended sacrifice and he's not doing the sacrifice like he's supposed to, and he saves the dog from being sacrificed, then there's already something where Matt Damon he's defied the gods. He's not giving them the sacrifices that they're due at any rate. And good old Argus, right? I don't want a story about Odysseus called the Odyssey. I want a story about this dog called the Argosy. Yeah, there should be more movies about, and his name's Odysseus, so now we call any journey that's like tough and wild an Odyssey. Well, about like if I'm trying to hook up with some married woman who hasn't seen her husband, how come we don't call that a Penelope? Yeah, yeah. Or maybe I want my feet washed by an older lady. Like they don't call that a Euroclea, see? Euroclea, the nursemaid who recognizes Odysseus' feet. Who could also be, there's a chance, yeah, she literally his mom? Is she Telemachus' mom? Is, she's just the handmaiden. She recognizes him because of that scar from the boar that attacked him earlier on. But there's a lot of theme of sacrifice, doubles, twins. What more would you want from a Nolan movie? All I'm saying is, this is not the Odyssey the way you remember it. This is a different version, and it ties in closer to other Nolan films than it does with classic Greek literature. Even the movie, the last shot of the movie, it's the same as the last shot of Oppenheimer, where you see the world burning, where evil's been introduced, where darkness and guilt have been introduced into an otherwise peaceful or people are following by the rules of Zeus's law, God's law, and playing fair play, and now everything's just burning. This Trojan horse was a real, it wasn't a delightful story like we grew up thinking it was. It was a story of lying and killing and beheading all these people in the walls of Troy, and that he's guilty about. But even that story, it could be a misdirect. We might not be getting the actual true story from the John Bernthal character who was there. We're kind of meant to think he's like a good guy, I guess. He's helping Telemachus. Classically, he's been kind of like seen as like an ally, but I think he's the one that clawed his wife's face. I think there's something else going on there that he's kind of he might actually be a rascally figure as well. Basically, if you think someone's a hero, there's a chance you could read this as an anti-hero. Even the Batman movies, they're trying to say it's like too much surveillance state. That Batman's kind of bad. Bane's right. The Joker's right. Is that what's happening here? Is Odysseus right? Is Odysseus wrong? Was he wrong to do those war crimes? He says he was. He for sure was. Was he wrong to sacrifice his son, Sinon? Even the name, Sinon, son, it's in there, in sin, in the word sin. I think that wasn't a random choice to add that to the story of this version of the Odyssey. A couple scenes we don't see. We don't. We don't see the very first island that they land on. We're told that the people have just left, and we watch their village burning again. But I think the welcoming party went off and burned those houses, and they're just wilding out, man. The Trojan War turned everybody into real, just dark versions of themselves, and so those guys aren't heroes, and maybe they needed to die. So the gods don't exist. We do get to see the Cyclops, one of them. Polyphemus, he doesn't talk. It's kind of a different version than what we've seen in past versions of the Odyssey. They blind him. He makes a crazy sound. And then he blinds him again. He shoots a little arrow on the way out, right? Odysseus hits him with one last arrow and says, deuces. That's what. There's a lot, but even that, it's about sacrifice, where he's doing like these little number riddles, where he's like, all right, I need 2 of you guys. There's too many of us in the cave. If we're going to survive, 2 of you go need to rush the cave. And then, so he's always sacrificing a percentage of the crew. It's usually in 2s, it seems like, but Scylla comes down and kills 6. So is there some numerology going on? Are we getting 2 divided by 3? 666? Is that what's happening? A little nod to the 6th sacred number. Which also I don't think that was the literal. You could either everybody dies in Charybdis, the whirlpool, or 6 people die and with Scylla gets ya. Scylla. In Circe, a little bit different, right? There could be a narrative unreliability there too. Is she literally turning them into? We get to see them turn into the pigs, but could this be a exaggeration of his memories? He's still tripping on lotus flowers with the beautiful Charlize Theron. He's all doped up. Or did Odysseus drown? Is he dead the whole time? This is all like a dream sequence of his own. He dies in the first scene. He drowns in the horse. He's the guy that drowns. Is he Sinon? Is that why he's there? It's literally him. He's out of body. He's having an out of body experience walking through Troy, and everyone's just rushing past him as if he's not there. But his homie still sees him, so at one point picks him up. But then is that guy really the homie? It's the same guy's trying to like cause a mutiny. People aren't who they say they are in the Odyssey. There's other secrets going on. If you have any, additional hot takes or any extra analysis, I'd love to see your messages and notes. I'll probably review this movie again. I just saw it the one time, 3 hours, sat through it, no pee breaks, no drinks or anything. Just watched it and watched it with open eyes and I was going into it kind of already thinking, is Odysseus supposed to be kind of like an anti-hero? Is he like going to be a bad version? Is that the twist? These Nolan movies love to have a twist where someone isn't who they say they are, and the morality is different than we're being led to believe. And that's why I can't wait to watch Odysseus again. Leave some likes and subscribes and messages below. If you like the Odyssey and you have any more ideas that could help me further my understanding of this movie, I would love that so much. Thanks for listening. This is David Weed, the Cinemasochist, coming back to you after years of no reviews, but I'm so glad I was able to make one for y'all today. Thank you. See y'all later.